You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Rolling. Don't use any of this. Don't tell
Okay,
me.
carry 3.
They love you. You know.
This is Princess Leia Organa. You're listening to Planet Leia.
Permission is granted to land on Planet Leia. Brought to you by Fantha Tracks. Here are your hosts, Clair Henry and
Johanna, Nybelius.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to Planet Leia. We've had our summer break, but we're back. It was a long break, but a busy one. Lots of things happening, not necessarily Star Wars related, I have to say, for me anyway. I'm back with my co-host, Johanna. Evening.
Good evening.
Who's had a very long day and a glass of wine. This will be interesting.
Might be, yes. I'm blaming it all on my husband, who felt that I needed cheer up when I went to the gym, and I came back after like 20 minutes because it just didn't. Well,
I like the fact that you've gone to the gym and then you're celebrating your win at the gym with a glass of wine. Well done. That is winning at life, in my opinion. So, well, let's get cracking with exactly what everybody's talking about in the Star Wars universe at the minute. Ahsoka.
When we're recording this, we have both seen episode 5, but Claire has not seen episode 6, so we'll try to go up until episode 5.
Go for number 6. I'm not precious about spoilers, and I'm quite interested because you've said that episode 6, you think, in your opinion, is better than episode 5. And episode 5, in my opinion, it was pretty hard to beat, to be honest. So let's go for it. I was very lucky. I got to see the first 2 episodes down at the BFI IMAX with some of the Fantha Tracks team, courtesy of our good friends who got us some tickets, which I'm very grateful for. And it was obviously not filmed for the IMAX, but wow, a great start. And even though it wasn't filmed for the IMAX, it was amazing to watch on it. The visuals are amazing. It does have that air of Dave Filoni about it, even though it's real life.
Yeah, but if I'm going to say something about the series, is that it's so clear that it's Filoni, especially in like the first episode that he had directed as well. It's like, it was like they had taken so many frames straight from the animated series. And it's like, yeah. It's obvious this is the animated series gone live. It does not stand on its own.
Now, have you watched Rebels?
I have watched almost all of Rebels, and I've watched enough, and I know all the things that's happening that has like an importance for the Ahsoka series, but I have not watched the Clone Wars. I didn't have time for that. And that's why you could recognize so many of exact shots in the live. And I totally understand. If you're a huge fan of the animated series, it must have been like, wow, to see, oh, now we see it live. But for me, who's not the biggest fan, is like, yeah, we've seen that. Yeah, you just want to make it just like the animated series.
I mean, the Siege of Mandalore in episode 5, I know that that's a massive thing for lots of people in the Clone Wars. From reading all the forums, the Facebook groups, everybody was very happy with that if they were a Clone Wars fan. I actually just liked seeing the Jedi and the clone troopers and everything. I just like seeing it all in real life. Neither of us have watched the Clone Wars. We've tried and failed miserably.
And I think that's the thing, though. I mean, after last week's episode, which was the one with Ahsoka and Anakin and all the flashbacks when they are in the world between worlds, I totally understand how happy people were about that. But for me, who didn't have that prior connection to it, it wasn't that impressive. And I did really like seeing Anakin and Hayden Christensen as the live action Clone Wars Anakin in his Clone Wars armor from the different seasons. I really like that. That was actually something interesting, that I felt that the quality of like the aging Hayden differed so much between the episodes, because when he first shows up in the end of episode 4, we're like, oh, you have erased a bit too much. But then in the main episode where he's so much, it looked a lot better.
Yes. I mean, I have to say that is the one thing, the effects and everything just keep getting better and better. If you think back to that CGI of Carrie Fisher at the end of Rogue One, it was okay. Everybody knew who it was, but it was still a bit dodge. Now, the whole process leading up to Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker and The Mandalorian and now this.
Which, if you ask me, is a bit of an issue with Ahsoka so far. And this is because of the timeline where they are having it. Where's Luke and Leia and Han?
Yeah.
You had a name drop for Leia, Senator Organa, but in this time frame, we want to know why Luke and Leia are not involved in what's going on, if it's such a huge threat to the galaxy.
I was going to say, if it was a massive threat, as it appears to be, why wouldn't the leaders... Well, to be fair, it was good to see Mon Mothma in it. Anybody who listens to the show knows that both of us are huge fans of her and her character, and actually how they're developing her through all the different series is just fantastic.
I mean, they're doing all this de-aging. Maybe they should age Genevieve O'Reilly a little bit so she better looks like Return of the Jedi, because now it was... Oh, I'm sounding so critical. But anyway, now it was obvious that her scenes were shot during Endor.
Yes, yeah.
But it's Mon Mothma, and we love her. And I think maybe that's something that we as fans need to be better at accepting. They won't look the same always. Sometimes the de-aging will work, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it is okay to switch actors if it's not possible. I think we need to stop looking at the films as animated series where they will always look the same, and instead like that's the shell and there will be differences due to actors, and when it's done I think we would be more happy then.
Yeah. Plot wise, what do you think? Could you imagine not seeing Rebels and understanding what was going on?
No, it's one of the weaknesses of the series. And even now, as I said, I've watched almost all of Rebels. I haven't watched Clone Wars, and I feel that I'm missing out on so much, even if I feel like I'm a pretty well-informed viewer. Like episode 5, my husband, who we all know is not a Star Wars fan, has no clue about anything, went in when I was watching it, and I just looked and said, no, I can't explain what's going on. It's Star Wars.
I agree. That was a tricky episode on many levels. Where is this space continuum? Where is this all about? And people I know, because the guitar teacher, this is the other ironic thing, the guitar teacher in my school, Simon, is a huge Clone Wars fan, and he's massively into it all. And he was able to tell me all sorts of different theories and what's going on and why this is happening, etc., etc. The theories those people are sort of bringing about, which is when Anakin brings balance to the Force, it's not balance to the Force when he is alive, but it's when he's dead and in this continuum, and helping people to project out of this continuum as Force projections or Force ghosts or whatever we want to call them. But I would agree.
I feel like they are not doing a very good job with developing the well-known characters. They are basically their animated versions gone live, but you don't see a lot of progress in them or getting to know them. It's like the series assumes that you know who they are and what their characterizations are, which is why I find Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati much more interesting, because there you have new characters and we don't know them already, and they are doing a much more interesting job. But for once, I'm actually much more interested in the villains in the story, and I'm not talking Thrawn.
I don't get Thrawn, but I don't understand where Thrawn has come from, and I don't understand why he's so evil. I know that if you're a Thrawn fan, you'll be, oh, this is amazing, and all the rest of it. I don't get it. But then I haven't read the books. I haven't watched the Clone Wars. So therefore, I'm at a bit of a loss about the motivation behind him.
And I'm the one, when I read the old Thrawn trilogy back in Legends, who was really cheering when Thrawn was killed off because I didn't like him. So I've never even tried to get into the whole Thrawn thing because I didn't like him. I'm like, yes, he's dead. That's actually my main interest right now, is to see how much, not in this series, but if we get the film, I mean, it's Disney, they might still cancel it. But if we get the Thrawn film that is basically going to tie all the ends of this Filoniverse together, how much we will get from the old Heir to the Empire and the Thrawn trilogy books. They even name dropped heir to the Empire. Like, yes, come out with the Katana fleet.
My issue is, for example, the not togetherness of Ahsoka and Sabine. I know the motivation to find Ezra from Sabine, but it's on a face value level if you were watching it without having watched Rebels, in the sense that, oh, look, it's her boyfriend and he's dead and she thinks he's still alive and she's going to have to try and get him. And that would be the wrong assumption in a lot of things. If you hadn't watched Rebels and you knew nothing about it, that's what you would think.
Definitely.
And that's fine, I suppose, to think about it in that sense. And that's okay. But you get my point.
No, it's like the recurring characters are flat. That's also the difference between the medium. In an animated series, when Ahsoka is standing there just crossing her arms and saying something stoic, okay, it works, it's the medium. When she does the same in a live action, I feel it's quite flat and emotionless. I hate sounding so negative, but this is probably my least favorite of all the Star Wars series that we've had so far.
It's interesting. It's not my least favorite. I am watching it every week, whereas I didn't really watch every week the Book of Boba Fett, and I caught up quickly on The Mandalorian. I'm enjoying these. And I think the visuals are good. And I think it's, as a thing to watch. I am enjoying it for what I'm taking it at face value at.
I enjoy it as well, definitely. I like sitting down on a Wednesday watching through it. But yes, sometimes I haven't watched it until Friday. And when all the spoilers are starting to go through, I'm like, okay, I need to watch it before I get more spoiled, because I do care about spoilers. And I definitely enjoy it. But this is also the fact the Jedi have never been my favorite part of Star Wars. To have something that is so centered around the Force and magic powers, it's never been my favorite. And I think that's one reason why I have never really been interested in Ahsoka, because, she's another of these Jedi. I loved Hera and Sabine in their characterizations because they are not using the Force. And I really hope that Sabine won't all of a sudden find the Force and start doing mind tricks. I love it when she's trying and she's not succeeding, because that's much more interesting than all of a sudden she also has the Force and can use a lightsaber.
I hate to tell you, I think it's going to happen. I think she will find it at a crucial point when the universe will be saved and Thrawn will be destroyed.
Hi, this is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
Now, can I spoil you a bit for the last?
Yes, go for it. Please do.
I mean, they have ended up on Peridea, where the planet where you have the Dathomir Night Sisters. It would be cool if Sabine doesn't find the Force, but she starts using the Night Sister magic instead.
Oh,
this is total speculation for me, like she tapping into something else than what a Jedi does. Because there are hints that there is something else with this planet. I must say, now they're on an extra galactic planet. The air is breathable. The animals and the aliens all look... I would have loved it to be more weird and strange than it is. It's just like one of the rocky planets.
In the books, what was it depicted as?
I've never seen this in the books, so...
Okay, so it's not... This isn't anything that's been pulled from
not
the expanded universe or anything like that. No.
And this is one thing that almost all planets, except for some gas giants, have breathable air. But now outside the galaxy, make it more exotic.
Yeah.
There is something interesting going on with the planet. And as I said, I find Balan's Skull and Shin Hati much more interesting. And it's obvious that they are on another quest. They're not totally in on the plot of just getting thrown back to the main galaxy. And that is much more interesting.
Well, I mean, there's sympathy in the fact that he didn't really want to kill Ahsoka is an interesting one, isn't it? Because if that was one of the seven sisters or whatever, they'd be killed, gone, you're out. But there seems to be a sort of a sympathy or a homage or a respect, actually, a respect. That's what I'm looking for the Jedi. And so I don't know whether that comes to light in today's episode.
Oh, yes, it does. It does.
Good.
He
so
has
tell me.
Definitely a motivation that's different. He wants to end the constant cycle of the light and good, one winning and then one going to fight. He wants to end the cycle.
Oh.
With first the Jedi becoming strong, and then the Empire, and then the Jedi, and then the Empire. He wants to end this cycle. And what that means, you don't know, but it's very intriguing. And it's obvious that he's something else. He's not a Sith. He's some kind of dark Jedi. He doesn't believe in the Jedi. The Jedi were definitely flawed, but he's sick of the cycle of the good versus bad and light and dark. And I must say, this is also what I find so interesting in the relationship between Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. It's more than just a master and apprentice relationship. It's much more of a father-daughter relationship.
Well, I was going to say it. You know, when he orders her about, it's not done in the same tone or manner as a Jedi and an apprentice, if I'm honest, or a Sith and an apprentice. It's not done in that one. It is more directional. It's more, and she doesn't, you know, she does as she's told, so to speak. I think there's something.
There is definitely a stronger bond than just, I'm teaching you, you will take over from me. Someday there is something else going on. And I really like it. And that's also why I feel like Baylan is such an interesting character. And also Shin Hati. It feels like they are two orphans that were cast out. And it's now obvious that Baylan Skoll saw everything burn during Order 66. But he was not an Inquisitor. He has been thrown out on his own. And for some reason, he has turned dark. Yes.
Yeah.
And he has found this girl developing as a Force user. He has much more dimensions to him than we've seen in almost any villains.
There's a depth to him. You know, the motivation of a Sith to take away the Jedi, to live forever, to rule the Empire. So I find him an interesting character in that sense, that there's definitely more to it. There's a sympathy almost.
Yes. It's a bit like in Andor, where you actually have sympathy for the Imperials as well. They are trying their best to do their job. And this is almost the same. He has some kind of motivation that isn't just that he wants to rule the universe.
100%. That is exactly it. And I hope we get to see it before the end of the series, because we're not sure where it will go, you know.
Now, with just for me 2 episodes to go, I feel like we're not going to get the best answers. And yes, due to the sad passing of Ray Stevenson, we know that this is a character that will disappear.
Yeah.
Shin Hati as well. I really like her. And then you had Marok, who was just like, okay, he's gone. They needed a cool-looking guy they could kill.
I think...
Or we don't know if... I mean, we only saw the mask. Maybe it was a woman or an alien or anything.
The thing about it is I think that his story arc will progress now in comics or books, which is something in the Star Wars universe I don't really take part in at all. I barely can read half a page without falling asleep, let alone try and read the amount of novels that are coming out so much in the Star Wars universe at the minute. It's impossible.
I definitely think we will see Baylan Skoll, at least in a comic series. I mean, he was there at the end of the Clone Wars. He can definitely follow the whole development of the galaxy from the side and finding his own way in the galaxy.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
Why do you think 6th episode was a better one than last week's?
I got curious about this planet. When he's talking about that there is something else going on with this planet, there is something, and this is apparently the Dathomir witches, it's their home planet. There is something going on with this planet for some reason, and it's much more interesting than seeing Ahsoka have flashbacks from the Clone Wars.
A lot of people said last week's episode was fan service.
Definitely. I loved seeing Anakin, so I totally understand why it worked. It has me intrigued what will go on. And I'm not really interested in will Thrawn get on a Star Destroyer and go back to the main galaxy. It's the other things that are interesting. The Night Sisters were cool. We got to see Night Sisters live.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. My thing about it is you're a prequel fan. This is how you entered into the Star Wars universe. The whole Anakin arc last week for you wasn't as interesting as this week.
No, and that is because I've not been following the Clone Wars and his arc there. And one reason why I didn't follow the Clone Wars was that to me, it didn't quite fit with the Anakin arc from the films and the books. And I mean, that is where I come from the start. For me, it's been so wrong that he had an apprentice. And when you feel that's wrong from the start, you have a harder time warming up to Ahsoka. No, that was not the important part of Anakin's relationships, was not with his apprentice.
See, for me, having not watched any of that, that's where I think I missed all that. So when people are saying Anakin's got an apprentice, what? Wait, whoa, hold on. Because, I wasn't necessarily into it. I struggle with Darth Vader having an apprentice who's still alive when he's Darth Vader, all a bit odd.
In the prequels, I read all the books leading between episode 2 and episode 3 and the years after, before Clone Wars started. And I felt like Clone Wars animated series did not fit with my view of what these characters were.
Okay.
It's totally subjective on my side. But that and the fact that the animated series was not a medium that I totally understand. It's not my kind of medium, I felt. But as I said, I have watched Rebels. I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand why people like it. I've gotten to really like the characters, but they don't get me quite emotionally hooked as I have from the films and the books and the characters that I have there. But I want to hear a cosplay.
I hear a cosplay would be quite good. I follow somebody who makes Twi'lek headpieces, and I believe she's inundated with orders and everything, and you can understand
when Rebels came, even if I didn't watch the whole series, I wanted to do a Hera.
I did see on a Facebook post somewhere that a screenshot taken of the front of the Ghost with a photo of Kanan, a picture of Kanan on the steering column.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite nice.
That was cute.
I thought that was cute. Even though they're in outer space and in this galaxy far, far away, and everything is holographic and all the rest of it, she still has a 2D picture of him, not a projection.
So a human and a Twi'lek gets a child, and the only thing that the child gets is a bit of pointy ears and green hair.
But could it be that the things are growing underneath the hair?
Who knows? But it should be said, like, if you go back to the Han Solo trilogy, they do have some who are mixed alien, where basically you'd recognize that they are mixed because they have some splotches on their skins. So, okay, I can buy it. It's also a hark back to older, simpler, less effects time, but that's also a thing. If you haven't seen Rebels, you don't understand who that kid is and why he's force sensitive.
All you hear is your dad was a special man. Words to that effect. He was a special man with special powers, and you've got them too. I have to give a big hand out because I actually do like the droid. Blunt and direct and to the point, as droids always are. And Brian Cameron will hate me for this, but the droid is probably one of my favourite characters.
And also what I consider the lack of emotion shown by the human and alien characters, it's not the same with the droids because they don't show any emotions anyway.
I am certainly enjoying that character. It's very amusing. The other thing that I quite liked, and now we're getting into the soppy bits of it all, really, or the face value bits of it, the Loth cats.
Yeah. Oh, they were lovely.
I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I really thought they were very cute. I went and got the Loth cats that I'd bought Star Wars Celebration, and Sophie and I got them out to have a look at them to sort of compare. But yeah,
I was thinking about them actually, that you bought them. I'm like, I also want a Loth cat.
Honestly, they're really, really cute. They are a good buy.
Chopper is really good.
Chopper is good in Rebels, and that is one character that has managed to cross over very well, I think, from the animation. Again, it's a droid. It's because it's an easier one to transfer over. As you say, I'm struggling with the whole rebellion, the new, the new Empire, the Senate, etc. We all know what happens to them.
That is also a reason why I feel it's a bit hard to really connect to this story, because you know that it will end up with the sequels anyway. But whatever happens here won't matter, because in the end we will end up with The Force Awakens.
Whereas when we watched Rogue One, we knew where it was going, but we were more invested in it.
Yeah, that's really strange, but maybe that's because it's so clear where they're heading. Rogue One and Andor has writing that is the best we have in Star Wars. But I wonder if it is because it is so clear where they're heading. It's so contained that you get interested and you get emotional about it. This is still trying to show off the whole galaxy, but it's still contained within these few characters. It's neither contained very emotional or the big grand whole universe is hanging on this mission. It's some kind of in between.
This is a sort of a thing that I would hope that they bring up with Pablo Hidalgo, who is at Furthest From, which is a little Star Wars convention down in Fordenbridge. And they've managed to get the guru of Star Wars at it. So if you can picture a town hall, or not even a town hall, it's just a village hall, it's not big at all. And they've got the keeper of the Jedi library, or the Star Wars library in this hall.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And that's the sort of thing I would think would be a good question to sort of ask him about the linkage between it and where it all comes, because obviously he knows, he's the canon fact checker, isn't he?
Also, if you go for The Mandalorian, for the first season, that was also pretty contained. It was one bounty hunter with a prize. I really liked season 3 of The Mandalorian because I like Bo-Katan. Despite not having seen Clone Wars, I got really interested and I really like Bo-Katan. So that's a character that did that transition very well from the animated series to the live action. But I still felt I got less and less interested the more the story went into the huge, with all the politics and rebirth of the Empire. And it was much stronger when it was just a bounty hunter.
It expanded itself too much too quickly. Yeah. And I'll be honest, that's where I kind of lost my interest. So that's why the Book of Boba and The Mandalorian, except when the Luke Skywalker bit came up. I think it was a good couple of months after it had finished before I actually watched the rest of it, if that makes sense. So our thoughts on Ahsoka then really are, it's an enjoyable watch. Great to see female characters at the fore, which is what we're all about.
This is definitely a female character-driven story. I mean, the only male characters, they're talking a lot about Thrawn, and you have Bail and Skull, and then you had Anakin, but the rest is definitely female-driven, and I like it. And I sounded very critical now. I like it. I enjoy it. The premises were not on the serious side for me to like it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Ahsoka. I haven't watched Clone Wars. The Jedi are not my favorite part of the Star Wars. I enjoy it.
I'm enjoying it. I am definitely watching it every week. And I think that is because it is female-centric and it's good to see it on the screens. Is it my favourite? No, definitely not. But I do rank it above Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. It's an enjoyable watch, and I will watch it through to the end, and I will definitely... I do make it my mission to make sure that I've watched it, as you say, before the end of every Wednesday. Don't go on the internet and find out the spoilers, if you know what I mean. I'm not fussed if I find out the spoilers. I did find out some in episode 4, I think it was. It's a good Star Wars watch, and it's nice to see Star Wars back again. I think they're missing the promotion because of the strikes, and it also means that we're not necessarily getting the thoughts behind it or the characterizations behind it because they can't explain it. No. So I think that is a bit that's missing. So we're having to surmise and guess ourselves what's going on.
But that should be obvious from a series. If you do the characterization well, you shouldn't have to second guess. But it's Star Wars.
Always second guessing.
Hi, this is Vivian Lyra Blair, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
So looking to the future, I was hoping that our next podcast would be me being very excited about going on the Galactic Star Cruiser, but obviously that is not happening. However, I will be going to MGM Studios, and I have 2 days pre-booked for MGM. So I will definitely be spending those days at Galaxy's Edge, put myself into the workshop, and we booked ourselves into the cantina. So I shall be reporting that at the middle of November when I get back. So that's something Star Warsy that I'm looking forward to. What about you?
I don't really have a lot right now. Let's see, because it's like we have one Comic-Con coming up in early November, and unfortunately I'm still not sure that I can get off work to go to it. So it's like, we'll see what happens. So that's where I'm at. And then it's like I don't want to get too excited about the films and TV series right now because they have a tendency to get cancelled.
You don't actually want to start looking forward to something. And then, I mean, like, for example, the Daisy Ridley. I know that she's up for it. And you can see now that she's back on Instagram and everything that she's definitely, but again, there's no filming of that at the minute, is there? Because of the strikes, etc. Yeah. So whether things will be affected and pushed, who knows? What's the next TV series that should be coming out?
Skeleton Crew, which is also a very strange one, which is like, okay, it's Star Wars, it's got Jude Law, but the rest sounds very strange to me. And I've said it before, I think at the moment, the development of the Star Wars galaxy in what we are seeing in TV series and films is very interesting because it feels like they don't know what direction they are having. They are throwing out a bunch of ideas and we'll see which ones will stick and be popular, and that's the direction they will take. Yeah. But right now they have no clue, which is of course interesting, but it might mean that we see something really strange, and it might be that we see something that we had never expected from a Star Wars thing.
What was it they were all confirming, or they were saying was being confirmed? Was it Lando Calrissian?
Wasn't it supposed first to be a series? Now it's a film. Yeah. So
who knows where that's going with that one? Yeah. I would be quite interested in that. But if you have that, then you have to have Han Solo back. So will you get your man to come back to do that? We'll sort of have to wait and see, won't we, in that sense?
I will say, I had a craving to watch Star Wars some weeks ago, and I actually, my husband is here. What can I show him that's just a one-off thing? And I don't want to show him Rogue One because he really liked Andor, so I don't want to spoil season 2 of Andor for him. But we watched Solo, and he liked it. At least he said so. That it was a fun film, as he said. Like, yes, it is a fun film.
It is a fun film. And if they get that sort of that repartee between the two, it will be good. And it will be quite nice to have a Lando film and a Solo film. Yeah. And they just call them Lando and Solo.
Yeah.
That could be quite a funny one, actually.
Everything doesn't have to be so serious. Star Wars is built on fun.
Correct. I wholeheartedly agree. And sometimes I know I seem very surface level on things, but because I take it as I see it, sometimes I can think long and hard and deep about it and say lots of lovely things and all that interesting. But actually, sometimes, as with Ahsoka, it's a great series just to sit and watch.
Jedi might not be my favorite thing, but lightsabers are cool.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to going to the workshop and building my own lightsaber. I've booked in the 3 of us. The aim is because I have the Skywalker sabers going down one side of my hall, is to have the Henry lightsabers going opposite. So we have like Leia's and mine, and then the blue Rey, Luke, Anakin one, and that'll be Sophie's, and then the green one will be, opposite with Marcus's. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And the 2 of them looked at me tonight when I shared my views on what it was going to look like. They said, well, that means we can't throw anything down the stairs without knocking it all over. I said, well, you just have to walk down the stairs quite carefully then, won't you?
It will be fun. I mean, they are now, the characters from Ahsoka are going into the Galaxy's Edge as well. So you might meet up with them.
This is the only thing I think I'm going to miss a lot of things in Galaxy's Edge by not going to the Star Cruiser. Because from what I can gather, being on the Star Cruiser explains a lot of the Galaxy's Edge. We'll see.
I think it will be great fun anyway.
It will be great fun. I am bringing a very empty suitcase. I'm bringing 2 pairs of shorts, 2 T-shirts, my trainers and my sandals and my swimming costume, and that is it.
Do you mean that you used to do some shopping when you were out at Star Wars events? I would never thought so.
I know, never do I shop ever, Johanna. You and the listeners know that. Absolutely. She says, I hope her husband isn't listening to this. But I know he is secretly. He's already going, what's going on down there? What are they doing? We're not scheming or plotting anything, are we?
No.
And I've been honest and open about the lightsabers, so it's fine. Absolutely fine. Well, it's been great to talk Star Wars again.
And talk all about Ahsoka, because it is an enjoyable series and it's great fun to be speculating again and talking about what you like and you don't like. And
nice to get back on the Star Wars bandwagon after. Sometimes I feel you do need to have a break from it to sort of get your head around things again and then carry on again. So, I'm all up for it and going for it again. So, I'll be looking at what's happening next and be sharing what's happened at Galaxy's Edge. But we shall see you soon, and I'm going to leave it to Johanna to say our promised farewells.
So until you hear from us again, remember to tune in to Good Morning Tatooine live Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. And check out our Panther Tracks Radio Friday night rotation every Friday at 7 p.m. UK for new episodes of The Phantom from Down Under, Planet Leia, Desert Planet Disc, Start Your Engines, Collecting Tracks, Cannon Fodder, and special episodes of Making Tracks. And every Tuesday at 7 p.m. UK, time for your weekly episode of Making Tracks.
So thanks very much for listening, everybody. Until our next one, may the Force be with you. And as always, we love you.
Love you. You know.
You know.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.